G'day, hi and welcome. New saws versus old saws. Well, these are both pretty old saws, I'm sure, but this is newer than that. So what we got here is a Stihl MS270. Got a little bit of work to do to it, but a free saw, runs, probably just needs hoses and stuff like that because it bogs out and stuff like that. Probably needs a new coil and stuff like that. But I got the saw for free, not too bad. This is my dad's Johnsert Husqvarna. They're comparable saws. This one is a little bit bigger. I think it's 54 cc's or something like that. This thing weighs a fucking ton. Sorry for the language. That is so. This is my heaviest saw that I have right now until I get that newer Husqvarna, which I don't even think that 72cc Husqvarna weighs as much as this thing. This thing, that's freaking cast there. That's steel. That's a heavy. No plastic on this guy. Except for that part and that part. But, oh yeah, okay, the handle. Okay, so there's some plastic on it. But this guy's all plastic. That's why it's nice and light. Oh, I don't like plastic saws because they break too easy. You know how hard it is to break this ABS plastic? You know what I mean? Like if you look at Ninja Shark, my other saw, how like it's tumbled off roofs and it's, you know, it's still functional and it, you know, I mean, it's got bust marks on it, but it takes a lot to bust that stuff. Yeah, so you got, okay, that the base of it is you know, there's more plastic on this than there is on that, is the point I'm making. Just heavier. It's just heavier. For the comparable saw size, my dad likes that saw. I've always told him, Dad, grab this one, grab the other one, you know, save your back, you know. But he doesn't want to because he's afraid if he breaks it, you know, it's my saws or whatever. But I'm like, I got it for free. If it breaks, right now it's kind of, you know, it's down for repairs, but it's a functioning saw. So once this thing is going really good, I'll say, Dad, leave that thing. That's a boat anchor. Like, grab this thing. You know, he's not a young man, you know. So, new saws versus old saws. The old saws are heavier, typically for given cc size. Are they simpler? Not really. It's the same mechanics pretty much from new to old. The only saw right now that's like breaking cutting edge is like the Stihl 500i, where it's fuel injection. I think it's the only one on the market that's fuel injection. And you know, that's probably going to be the wave of the future because you got a huge 79cc saw that has 5 horsepower, can run I think a 32-inch bar on it, and weighs 13 pounds. This thing probably weighs 14 or 15. This thing, that's close to 20 pounds. Like, that is a very heavy saw. I've used this saw a lot, say growing up. Like, God knows how old this saw is. Like, this is old tech for sure. And I've used this saw for a lot when I was younger. I would never go back to an old saw like that. Especially if you can get something like this. And I got, like I say, I got just the saw body for free. The bar I got for free in the chain, but I'm going to put a new chain on it once I get it up running perfect. There's no reason to go to an old saw. You know, if you got this saw for 50 bucks, you know what I mean? Like, it's a good saw. Don't get me wrong. It's a good saw. But you got all that weight. And if you have to work with it all day, mind you, this saw really cuts because of that weight. You know, like when you're doing stove wood, it's just, this one, if I had a really good chain on it, I'm pretty sure this saw would cut faster than that saw. But it's a lot lighter. And then, of course, my other saw is even lighter than that. So the thing is the bigger saw you go, especially once you get above the 50cc mark, like this one. This one has a ported head on it. So these MS270s are, a lot of people like these guys because they're a hot rod saw for their size. It's basically an MS260 with a ported head. That's what it is. So it cuts like twice, maybe not twice as fast, but it cuts noticeably faster. If you were to look at the MS260 saw, which is almost the identical saw, that would be like your Harley Davidson. This would be like your sport bike, right? In comparison. For the same given cc size. This thing here is like your farm tractor, right? it'll do the job. It'll even do it, probably cut it just about as fast as this. But if you have to cut an 8-hour day, a 10-hour day with this saw, you are going to be needing a chiropractor for sure. I'm 50 years old, so I don't have the body build that I used to have to take that kind of punishment. And when you're working on the side of a hill and it's messy and brushy and stuff like that, you're going to appreciate the lighter saw. You know, if you're out there for 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours, not a big deal. You can live with that. But if you have to do this day in, day out, which I don't do saws day in, day out, but I use a saw at least once, twice, 3 times a week, you know, mostly the little saw right now with branches and stuff. But when the fall gets here, people are going to be starting to say, Reg, can you come do my stove wood? Can you come do this? Can you come do that? And if I'm going to be out there in the cold, messing around with logs on the ground, yeah, you know, not so bad. But if I have to go in the bush to get it, I want the lighter saw. You always want the lighter saw. So there's 2 things to consider here. One is how heavy is the saw for the displacement? You know, tool to the job. You're not going to use a big saw like this for branches, you know, and stuff like that. You can, but it's not ideal, right? So use a little saw for little things. Use bigger saws for big things. But we're talking about what these saws are meant for: stove wood. You know, like, so you fall a tree like that. Yes, this saw will do it. That saw will do it. It's a little bit big. You wouldn't do trees like that all, you know, for, you know, ever in a day with it, but you could, you know, it's just, you'd really have to pace yourself because these saws are kind of getting small for stuff like that. But you get up, say, you know, like a 16-inch tree, a 2-foot wide tree, depending on what it is. Yeah, even big oak blocks, 16-inch, no problem with that. No problem with that. Done it. I've done it with, maybe not so much with this saw, but definitely with this saw. But the thing is, at the end of the day, after you've done the sawing, pulp hooking all the blocks and all that stuff, you got yourself a very, very sore back. So old saws versus new saws, that's something to consider. Yes, the old time guys will always say this was the better technology and they were so much more reliable. No, they're no more reliable, and they're no easier to tune. They're saws are saws. Like, the technology hasn't really changed and since probably, say, the 1950s. You know what I mean? But the weight has. The weight has. So I know those guys, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've done it enough to know, and used enough different saws to know, even if I don't do it every day, I've sawed thousands of cord of wood, you know, like 1,000 cord of wood probably in the past 10 years. Doesn't sound like much, but you add that and probably fell, you know, 500 trees or more, you know, easy within the past probably 5 years. You know what I mean? And then, you know, add out from the time I was a teenager to now, I probably fell about 2,000 trees. You know what I mean? So, you know, so it's one of those things. Maybe not all of them are big. Most is like smaller stuff, but you get the idea. I got a good idea what it's like to work on the side of a hill, what it's like to do stove wood, what it's like to do branches. I know what it's like to dangle off a ladder with a damn chainsaw, especially this guy. I done it. It was pretty cringe, but it was definitely one of those moments. Why do women live longer than men moments? But oh yeah, that was an interesting day. Even my buddy was too scared to go up the ladder, and I had this one and the 65cc one. And I went up, I zipped a couple of branches with this guy because I'd just broken the pull cord off my 260. So I went up, and it was near the end of the day. I said, Paul made it up maybe up to about the birdhouse on this Manitoba maple. Worst tree you could possibly climb too. So I've done that, right? And I'm like, Paul, come down, you're scared. I said, you're nervous. I said, I'll go do it. I have no fear of heights. You know, I'm just slow, you know. It's like, but I'm slow on purpose because I don't have fear of heights. Right, so I go up there, hoist the saw up, you know, you start it on the ground, I'll put the brake on, and I'll hoist it up, get out there, okay, a lot lighter than that. I would not be climbing trees with this thing. that thing would probably snap the tree by the time I get to the top, just from the weight. So yeah, weight is a big thing to consider with saws when you're working all day with them. So I've done a lot of days working all day with saws, my saws, other people's saws, stuff like that. I've done a lot probably done probably 500 quarter stove with my dad's saw over the years. So I've used this saw lots. I would not trade this saw for this under anything. So I just thought I'd make that point that a lighter saw, newer saws, don't discount them. Yes, there's some great old saws out there. I'm not saying there isn't, but what I'm saying is lighter is easier on you. For given cc displacement, look at that. That's why I think the 500i is the big saw to go for right now, because it's a 13-pound saw that's 5 horsepower that could put a 32-inch bar on it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that saw is the same weight as this, with like almost double the power. You know what I mean? So you're going to tell me that's not better? You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, there we go. I won't get into the debate about the fuel injection, but even at that, I think that's going to be the wave of the future for the new saws, is because it's lighter and it seems just as reliable. So anyway, there we go.